welcome to the Design Make Play Show. I'm Sarah and I'm an illustrator and designer at Zen Maker Lab. And today we're going to talk about the different programs that we can animate in, and I'm going to show you guys a short little demonstration of how to animate in Procreate. So let's get started. So what is frame-by-frame animation? Well, it is the traditional method used in all animation, and it's the technique used to create the illusion of movement through incremental changes between each keyframe. And I'm going to show you guys what that looks like so we get a better idea, and I'm going to show you some methods of animating. So I'm going to dive into my presentation here. So to start with, this example is showing this turtle moving frame by frame in incremental changes. So what you're seeing here is the start pose is the keyframe, this middle pose is another keyframe, and the ending pose is another keyframe. So frame by frame is between those keyframes, showing this character moving in motion. So for the animators, they have to draw every single movement of this character moving all by hand traditionally. So it's a lot of work that goes into this. And here's another example showing you guys what this looks like, the character moving in motion. And this example again shows a gesture and an expression of a character moving incrementally. So there's so much work that goes into this, but this is kind of the keystone of all animation, but we've advanced obviously from that point now. So I'm going to show you guys some methods of the past of animating and then to now what we've been doing in 2020. So to begin with, the first method of animating was called celluloid or cells, and this image showing this guy working here, he is drawing on cell paper, which is translucent paper that can be layered on top of each other. So everything that they are animating has to be drawn on this paper, and it's stacked on layers, and they have to do the drawing, the inking, the painting. So it's a very big process to create films like this, and it wasn't the most commonly used back then, but now it's pretty ancient, I'd say. And some examples to show you guys of what movies did this was Steamboat Willie was one of them. And then Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was actually a very historical moment for Disney because it was the first colored cartoon and one of the last celluloid movies made, because there was so much work that went into it, and they had 1 million sheets of cell paper, so you can imagine how much work that was. And then Bugs Bunny also used this technique. So now I'm going to show you guys a YouTube example so you get a visual understanding of what this looks like. So here the characters are moving, and again, everything you're seeing is drawn by hand in incremental changes, frame by frame. And then you can see the background is stagnant. So that's what they were doing then. And then moving forward into using color and inking, behind the scenes, the women were working on different cell sheets, and they were in charge of making the different layers and drawing over top of pencil drawings. And then after that point, they would move on to the coloring stage. And Disney actually created their own color palettes, which is kind of cool. The next example is stop motion. And this is really cool because this type of animation was also used historically a long time ago, but is still used because it has a really appealing, unique look. And what you're seeing this guy, he's doing, he is moving these physical puppets all by hand. So every single little change of that character moving and his face changing and the expressions, everything, that is what stop motion is, and that person's in charge of making that character move all by hand. So again, a lot of work is put into stop motion, but again, it has such a unique look, that's why it's worthwhile. So this is one example of a movie that did this, Chicken Run, and then Early Man, and The Nightmare Before Christmas also used this technique. So I'm going to show you guys a YouTube example of what this looks like. So in this video, what you're seeing is this lady, she's carving each different expression and face of different characters. So everything they do has to be done by hand, and then they're making the entire sets by hand. There's someone who's moving and constructing the character to make them look like they're moving in motion. So again, crazy amount of work for this type of animation, but it's super cool and you can get a greater appreciation when you're watching these kind of films. And then we have 2D animation, which is kind of the mix of traditional as well as digital. So they're using the computer, but they're also drawing by hand for the characters. So one example of a movie that does this is The Emperor's New Groove. So as you can see, it's still flat, so it's not 3D, but it does have a little bit of a different look than painted. So here's another one. Hercules was an example of this, and Lilo and Stitch. And I'm going to show you guys a quick little video of what that is. So again, someone drew what this character looks like in paper, and then they bring it into the digital programs. They do all the coloring, the refinement, and then they bring it into After Effects to do those special effects and really work on the lighting and the mood of the animation. So the last animation method I'm going to show you guys is 3D animation, and it's most similar to stop motion animation because they're puppets as well, but they're actually digital puppets. So stop motion is actually physical puppets that you can manipulate, but 3D is puppets that the animators create in the screen, but they still have complete control over what they do and how they move. So there's no drawing involved like 2D or celluloid. And some example of movies that do this technique is Toy Story. So you can see that these movies, again, they aren't flat. They're 3D, so they look really like real life and that they're popping out of the screen. This is Finding Nemo. And then we have lastly The Incredibles. And I'm going to show you guys my final example. So again, everything they create in these movies, they still have to do it by hand, but it's done digitally. And these characters from Madagascar, again, were all created by hand. They have to pretty much build and construct these characters, do all the shading, the lighting from every angle so that they look like the real deal and that they're like a living object in the screen. So yeah, they're pretty much puppets, but digitally done. So those are some examples of different animation methods, and hopefully you guys have a little bit of an understanding of frame by frame and can get a greater appreciation for how animation works. So ultimately, what I hope you guys took away from today is that there's a lot of different methods of animating, and the ones we covered today, we covered celluloid, 2D animation, 3D animation, and stop motion. So they're all different in many ways, but also similar in some. So I hope you guys learned something new, and next time you're watching a movie or a TV series, you can think about a couple of these things. So have fun, and I'll see you in the next segment.
So I know that energy is being generated in the speaker and needs to be transmitted into the wine glass. But how does that happen? How does the energy move from the speaker into the wine glass? And for that matter, what is sound and how do we hear it? I know it has something to do with air. Let's investigate. Ah, nice landing. So let's go ahead now and talk a little bit about air. All right, some of the properties of air. So first we're going to talk about what air is made of. Now air is primarily made of two types of gases, okay? Nitrogen and oxygen. And actually nitrogen takes up 78% of the air around us, while oxygen actually only takes about 21%. And of course that last bit is left to other gases. Now we can see here that I've drawn air as a bunch of these little things. Now these are little atoms or molecules, and these are actually the little pieces of air that make up what we breathe and what we interact with on a daily basis. It will take up the volume of the container that it's in. Okay, so for example, imagine that we've got a room here, okay? And I've trapped all the air on one side of this room. When I open this door, the air is not going to sit on one side. It is going to fill up this entire room. Okay? And this is known as diffusion. And this is different from a fluid. Okay, so a gas will fill all the sides of the container that it's in, where a fluid, you know that it's got one face, right? So for example, if I had a glass of water, the fluid would fill most of the container except for one side, which would be exposed as the fluid. So the gas will fill up the entire container. Now, gas can be compressed and it exerts some sort of pressure, okay? It exists, it's here. And there are two things that we can do to affect the pressure of a gas, okay? So one is that we can actually shrink the size of the container that the gas is in. So here I've got a little box and there are 10 molecules in this box, 7 nitrogen and 2 oxygen, one extra. And if I compress this volume, I'm going to increase the pressure, okay? Similarly, if I increase the temperature on this box, I am also going to increase the pressure. And that's because these little particles are going to get more energy and they're gonna be hitting all the walls and everything and exerting some more pressure. And we can use this principle to create pressure waves through the air, which is fluid, to create the sound that we hear. And primarily a speaker will do this by changing the volume of air. Okay, so we can see here that there are some sound waves, pressure waves that are exerting through the air in this diagram. And this is our speaker here, okay? And do you remember last time we were talking about electromagnetism? So there's a diaphragm on the speaker that's moving in and out as we change the current and we change the magnetic field, okay? We're using that property to create mechanical energy. And these waves are protruding from that diaphragm, okay? And we can see that on the pressure waves, okay, of this sound, the highest amounts of pressure, all of these little particles, all these little molecules of the air are actually closely packed together, like in this diagram. So this would be a high pressure wave. And then in between those high pressure waves, we see that there are some that are kind of dispersed. Can we see that? There's only a few. So in between these waves, this is a lower pressure, okay? And this variable pressure, if we measured it over time, it would look something like this. And this makes up the sound that we hear. Now, if we wanted sound to be louder, okay, we would increase the amount of pressure on these waves. And that would look like a higher amplitude, right? So remember, this is measuring the pressure. So as we increase the pressure of our waves, these things will get louder. Similarly, if I wanted to increase the pitch, so that is sort of, if you think about sound, we can go from a low to a high, right? That's the pitch. If I wanted to increase the pitch of my sound wave, I could actually make this thing vibrate faster and get those pressure waves to get closer together. And this would give me a higher pitch. Finally, the auditory range that we can actually hear is between 20,000 hertz, or sorry, 20,000 hertz and 20 hertz. Okay, so we will only be able to hear the pitches between these two ranges, or these two frequencies. So that covers everything that I wanted to talk about air. Let's go ahead and see these concepts in action. Glad at that one. All right. So we know that air takes up space, right? We know that it's made of these little particle things, but where's the evidence? A balloon is a great example of some evidence that air takes up space, right? Now, if this was filled with nothing, obviously I could crush it down flat, right? There'd be nothing in there to withstand or to resist my push. But as I push down on this thing, we can clearly see that it's taking up space, right? So that is actually the air that's inside is taking up the space and forming the shape of the balloon. And we can see here that if I push down on it, it will actually kind of condense and deform. So not only does air take up space, but it can also be kind of compressed. If I jab a little hole in the top of this balloon, If I jab a little one, let's see if I can do it here. Oof. There we go. It will actually come out, or we can blow it up bigger. Well, that's not really working too well, is it? Oh boy, let's see. Can we blow it up bigger? So we can see that we can actually fill things with this air to take up more space. Another really great example is here, okay? So another example of the evidence of air is actually this glass, okay? So here I've got this jug, it's full of water, and in this glass there's nothing, right? There's nothing in there. But if I turn it upside down and put it into the water, we can see that the water doesn't actually fill the inside of the glass. And in fact, the glass is pushing up against me. And we see these little things that kind of come up. That is air, okay? Air is taking up the space there. And not only is it taking up the space, okay, in that glass, but air is actually less dense, so it tends to rise. So it's pushing my hand back up. It's trying to escape. It's trying to escape its enclosure here. So not only does air exist, but it's fluid, right? And so it'll take the shape of whatever kind of container it's in. We kind of saw that with the balloon when I was squishing it, compressing it. So because it's got these certain properties of a fluid, it's great for transmitting waves, okay? And this is actually how sound is made, right? Is from the transfer of energy through these waves in a fluid. Usually, you can send waves through solid structures as well, which will be more vibration, right? But we are going to now demonstrate some of these waves, or at least try to demonstrate, using a speaker. So we're going to be transmitting some sound waves through the air that are going to hit this water and generate waves like the ones you can see when I slap my hands against the surface. So for our next demonstration, and this is our last one for today, we are going to be blasting this water with some really deep bass sounds, okay? So on the lower end of the frequency that we can hear, okay, our audible range, all right? And these bass sounds are gonna travel through the air and actually vibrate on the surface of the water. And we're gonna be able to see some of the vibrations that are actually being transmitted from the speaker through the air and into the jug here. We've also got our initial wine glass right beside as well, and hopefully we'll be able to see some of these vibrations. Now, these vibrations are very prominent. If I hit the table, we can see that they vibrate quite well. But we're also gonna see how this happens through sound, okay? So nobody's gonna be hitting the table here. It's just gonna be purely sound. Let's go ahead, let's jump into it. So I'm gonna turn this guy on, and we're gonna get started here. And we're gonna turn up the volume. So that last test really resonated with me and had good vibes. Let's go ahead now and head back to the DesignMakePlay room. Oh. So we just finished a couple of demonstrations using sound and air, and now it's time for some challenge. So I hope you're ready, hope you're excited. So your challenge for this video is I want you to find a source of some sort of sound. Okay, that could be anything, but hopefully it's fairly consistent, okay? And I'd like you to use a mechanism that you can use to record sound. So that could be a computer, that could be a phone. And particularly, I'm interested in the decibels, or the amplitude that you can hear that sound, how loud it is. And what I want you to do is slowly change the distance you are from that source, okay, and measure the amplitude as you get further and further away. And tell me, what is the relationship between the source and how loud that sound is? So that is your challenge for this video. I hope that you enjoyed learning about the properties of sound and air. And join us in our next episode where we will be learning about computational thinking.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rodney Gilbert. I'm a play instructor at DesignMakePlay, and today we have Ella on the show. She is a material engineer and also an instructor at DesignMakePlay. On the first episode, you guys went over locomotor skills and the basics of them, what they are. In today's episode, we're going to be going over locomotor skills in sport. So the sport we're going to be using to show these locomotor skills is baseball. So let's get started. All right, everybody. So the first locomotor skill we're going to go over is running. So running can be used in many different ways in baseball. But for this drill, we're going to simulate going from home to first and rounding first base like you're going to go to second. So for this drill, I'm going to demonstrate it once, and then Ella's going to go through it and show you guys how it's done. So we're going to start at home plate. From home plate, we're going to pretend like we hit the ball. We're going to start running. We're going to banana out, so go a bit wider. We're going to come back inside towards the bag, and we're going to step on the bag with our inside foot and keep running. The key emphasis is to make sure that you are stepping on the inside of the bag, because when you are running the bases in baseball, that will speed you up quite a bit. So here's Ella to demonstrate. You see how she got wider here when she came towards first base? That really helps you get the proper angle to get your foot on the inside of the bag. So the second locomotor skill that we're going to go over is like jogging, but it's sprinting. So that's full exertion of energy, full speed. So this can also be used in many different times in baseball, like also running to first base, but in this example, we're going to use it to track a fly ball. So the first step we're going to do is we're going to start facing the ball. The ball is going to be hit over our heads. We're going to open up. And we're going to full sprint back to the ball. We're going to get under it, plant our feet, we're going to catch the ball and get ready to make a throw. So this is an important locomotor skill because it's used frequently. It's one of the most frequently used tools in baseball is sprinting to go catch a fly ball. So Ella here is going to show us an example of what it looks like. Give her my glove. All right, perfect. And the ball is hit, perfect. You're going to sprint back. Get under it, awesome. Catch the ball, that's perfect. And you see how she planted her feet when she got under it? So she wasn't still moving, she stopped, she planted her feet and caught the ball. That was well done, Ella. All right, the third locomotor skill we're gonna go over today is sliding. So sliding is used many different times in baseball. It can be used while you're running the bases, it can be used defensively to make a play, it can be used just to get out of the way if you're in the outfield and your center fielder is trying to dive for a ball. So that's it's pretty key, so we're going to go over it. It builds off the other locomotor skills like sprinting and jogging because you have to be moving in order to slide. And it's a key tool in baseball. So a couple drills we can do for that would be you at a jogging pace and you just break down into a slide when you're coming into the bag. So it would look something like this. Another drill you can do for head first sliding would be the slip and slide drill. So everyone knows about a slip and slide, you know, summer toy. You bring one of those out, get it wet, and you practice. You can slide head first, feet first. That's a good way to get practice because there's low impact, and you get enough speed because of the water to practice, you know, whatever different type of slide that you'd like. So the fourth and final locomotor skill we're going to go over today would be diving and jumping for a baseball. So this can be used in many different situations, usually in the infield, but also in the outfield for diving. Jumping is mainly used in the infield. So there's a few drills you can do that involve jumping. One of which would be the fence finder drill. So you stand about 5 feet away from the fence with your back to the fence. A ball is thrown over your head. You run backwards, you find the fence with your free hand, find the ball, and then you jump and receive the ball at its highest point. So that would be the fence finder drill. Another drill you can do for diving in the infield would be called the quick reflex drill. So you have a partner, they're standing across from you. You get into the ready position, As soon as you get ready, they throw the ball either to your left or to your right, outside of your reach, so you have to extend to go get the baseball. So it would look something like this. So make sure you fully extend when you go to get the baseball. That is the key to this drill. And on the fence finder drill, make sure you're actually finding the fence with your free hand, because in game, if you don't, it can get dangerous. You see people running into the fence, getting hurt. You know, nothing good happens when you don't find the fence. So that's it for jumping and sliding. What you can do for a diving drill would be called the quick reflex drill. So you'd have a partner standing across from you. They'd have a couple balls, and you're gonna jump into the ready position. And as soon as you hit the ready position, your partner is gonna throw the baseball either to your left or to your right, outside of your reach. So that makes you have to dive for the ball. So it'll look something like this. And make sure you fully extend when you're done, because that's the whole point of this drill. If you don't have to extend, then you probably didn't have to dive. So make sure you get the full extension. All right. So today we went over locomotor skills that are used while playing baseball. Some examples of those locomotor skills would be jogging, running, jumping, diving, and sliding. So I had Ella show a few examples of running and jogging. So the drills that we went over there would have been, or are, for jogging, running from home to second. The key for this one is getting on the inside of the bag when you're jogging. So how we did that was we banana curved or got wide and touched the inside of the bag. For the second drill, we used sprinting, so we tracked the fly ball. The key for this one was you sprint to the ball and set your feet. You don't keep running. You have to get to the ball and stop. So that's a key for this one. Don't keep moving. The third drill we went over, or the pair of drills we went over, was diving and jumping. So we had the quick release drill, and then we had the fence finder drill. So the quick release drill is your friend is across from you, throwing you balls just outside of your extension, and you have to dive and go get them. So you get in the ready position and you have to go dive. The fence finder drill is when your partner throws the ball to the fence and you have to run back to the fence, find it with your open hand, and jump for the ball. The final drill we did was sliding feet first into the bag and head first into the bag. The key for this one was when you're diving head first, you have to extend your arms to go get the bag and cushion your blow into it. So those are the drills we went over today that we're going over locomotor skills. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I want to see you guys next week.
Welcome back to the Design Make Play show. My name is Siri Jones and happy to be doing the show again after the holidays. Today I wanted to talk very briefly about a designer, actually someone who collects designs, postmodern furniture in particular, mid-century Canadian pieces especially. His name's Jim Fuller. We recently got some really cool pieces for the new Shipyards location from him. And I thought I would just start by showing his Instagram. His Instagram is modern_Jim. It's Jim Fuller, based in Victoria. He's a teacher. He works in retail now, but has a teaching background. And he told me that just when he was younger, he sort of fell in love with some Canadian furniture pieces and just found that, started collecting them. One piece led to another piece, led to another piece. And now he's got a really awesome collection, and he was involved with some of the pieces, or helping kind of source some of the pieces for a show that they recently had at the Vancouver Art Gallery called Modern in the Making. And this was a really cool show. Unfortunately, it just ended, so I don't think you can still see it live. But this is the book called Post-War Craft and Design in British Columbia. Now, in past episodes, I've talked about some of the famous design history of people like Bauhaus and the school, with the concept of merging sort of the designer side with the actual craftsperson or kind of production, hands-on side of things. And so I'm just going to show you some of the pieces on his Instagram. I'll show you, actually maybe I'll start by showing you a picture of some of the pieces that, if you can see that, these are some of the pieces that we got just the other day. We had one of our staff members, Ronan, go out to Victoria, pick up some really cool pieces. And this is, I'm excited to say, will be in our new Shipyards location that is opening any day now. We're just waiting for a final occupancy permit, and then we are going to be opening. So we'll have some really exciting news related to that very, very shortly. But in the meantime, here's just a quick sneak preview of some of, this is sort of a sitting, planning idea kind of part of the space. And some of these pieces you can see, most of them are all the original pieces from the 40s, from the 50s, some from the 60s. So on the right-hand side, for example, this chair is from the 40s. It was one of the, actually, I think it was the first chair in Canada that had a molded plywood approach, or sort of a bent shaped plywood. So it was very innovative at the time. These other chairs here are called Wassley chairs. These go back to the Bauhaus days and Marcel Breuer. These are replicas. This chair here is very cool. This one and also the sofa are by a Canadian designer named Robin Bush. He was a renowned designer, and he went on to lead up Canada's division of Herman Miller. And I think and some of the furniture that he did, I think, were the only kind of Canadian pieces that were part of the Herman Miller collection. Really cool thing, some of the furniture that we were able to get is right from, was kind of showcased in the gallery, Vancouver Art Gallery, just recently. And some of the pieces are the same pieces. So I'll be kind of going through these in a little bit more detail in a future segment, talking more about the designers, specific designers of the pieces, and how it relates to the history of design and even graphic design. A lot of these topics like graphic design, furniture design, architecture, all interrelate. And then we also have some original tables and chair, and then this one here, side table. I believe this one is from the 60s. So anyhow, that's, I just wanted to go back for a sec now to Jim's Instagram. He's got some really nice pieces on it. You can see actually this one here was one of the chairs that we just got, thanks to Jim. And you can see his whole house is kind of filled with really cool vintage, mid-century Canadian, really well-designed pieces. And a lot of these early designers, you can see there, Jim, and you can see that these, here's the Modern in the Making book that was just at the show at the Vancouver Art Gallery. And then a few more things here, scanning down. This sofa here, it's called actually, I think, a day bed, or this sofa is the Robin Bush one, and this is the exact one we actually picked up the other day, and it looks beautiful. So really appreciative of that, and a few other of his kind of cool pieces on Instagram you can see here. There's another one of one of the chairs. We teach design, make, and play here at Zen Maker Lab. And the importance of not just the engineering, the STEM side, science, technology, engineering, math, but also the design side. They're very much interrelated, and also the physical kind of exercise and literacy side as well we mix in. So this is kind of a nice addition, having some of these vintage pieces that we can talk about the history from. This chair here, the Modern in the Making Post-War Craft and Design in British Columbia, which was the kind of the main poster for this exhibit. This is actually the matching chair of the sofa that we got, the Robin Bush sofa, and it's kind of cool. It's from, I think, about 1953 or so. So anyhow, you can see some of the other cool designs. It has that sort of modern look. There was a lot of optimism after the Second World War, and this is one style that emerged mainly from Germany and Scandinavia. And as some of the folks immigrated from some of those countries like Finland and Sweden to Canada, they took that design sensibility and continued it on in Canada with the slightly different style, a little bit more wood, but they were experimenting with new materials, things like fiberglass and molded plywoods and various plastics and things. So it was really an interesting time of innovation and experimentation. And a lot of the buildings and the architecture that we have today can be traced back to this period. In fact, the history of graphic design itself originates back from Marcel Breuer and others that were in Germany, and they really came up with the first concept of a corporate identity and branding and logos and things like that. So things that we just assume were always there were actually fairly recent addition, and it's interesting to trace the history back to them. Okay, so you got an idea of some of the cool things. We're going to have an interview shortly where we talk more about the new Shipyards location. We're really excited to have our the children and youth and adults, so we have some adult programs too, drop by. And that is our profile. It's a highlight, and it's really just a thank you to Jim Fuller. Instagram is modern_Jim, who I think in BC is probably one of the leading kind of experts on this whole era of sort of mid-century Canadian modernist type furniture and design. So if you can check out, since you can't go to the art gallery show anymore, you may still be able to source this book, Modern in the Making. It's a really amazing history of this whole period, not just furniture, but also things like ceramics, also a lot of the indigenous work and textiles. So a lot of really cool things in there. Okay, that's it today for our designer profile. And stay tuned. We're going to be back and interview Omer and myself, talking a little bit more about some of the developments at the shipyard. So see you soon.
Welcome back to DesignMakePlay. It's time for our interview. The first live interview of the new year. I'm excited to get some new guests on the show. And today I'll be interviewing our president, Siri Jones, talking about all the new things that we have going on in the new year. So some of the things that come to my mind would be, one, first of all, the Shipyards location is set to open any day now. He mentioned that a few minutes ago. We also have our Fab Academy. Fab is short for fabrication. So there's a lot of different fabricating and different precincts that go on within ZenMaker Lab in our classes, curriculum, etc. And lastly, I want to talk about the Carson Graham Robotics Academy, which is it's an initiative that we've been working with the school to get going. So enough of me rambling. What would you like to start with? The shipyards, probably?
Sure, and yeah, thanks, Omer. Really happy to be getting involved in the show again. DesignMakePlay in the new year. Hopefully everyone had a great holidays. And first of all, we do have an announcement. So I'm no longer the president here at ZenMaker Lab. We have a new CEO named we have David Barish coming on board. Just came on board, as you know, the other day. And so we'll get him on the show for an interview, but really excited about that. He's got a ton of experience, really great fit, I think, for DesignMakePlay. So anyways, that's just one thing. I'm going to be focusing a little bit more on the product development and sales and marketing kind of sides of things. The shipyards, it's been a really big project. We are so close now. We are having our inspection on Tuesday of next week, and then we should be off to the races. So Omer and the others, as you know, we've been getting it all set up. Thanks for all your help with that. And super excited. It's just a few blocks from our current location. It's a second location, so we are still going to be here on East 1st Street. We're going to have some more digital media programs where we are currently, and some more engineering programs oriented at the shipyards area. So definitely check out our website, ZenMakerLab.com. Find out about the Fab Academy, and yeah, maybe if, we can chat a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah, a lot of work has gone into that Shipyards Academy. Siri has spent a lot of time over the holidays, a lot of early mornings and late nights, just getting it perfect, and it's really starting to come together. So I can imagine how rewarding that is for you.
Yeah, it's been a whole team involved. We have people like John that's actually making some of the furniture pieces and the workbenches, some really cool designs. Kusha, our engineer here, has done some really good work getting it all set up, and the technical sides, the renovations. We've been really lucky to deal with a whole bunch of solid contractors and designers and people helping out just doing the renovations, the tenant improvements. And everyone's taken a lot of pride in just the design and the look and the feel. It feels, people that have walked in so far say it's got a really cool vibe. It's quite special. So it's not just another building. It's a really special place. Really convenient. The whole shipyard's development is awesome. Normally there's a skating rink there in the wintertime. This year with COVID they had to postpone that, but next winter that'll be back. And a lot of really cool leather shops in the area in the waterfront. So yeah, super excited to be opening the doors there very shortly, and welcoming kids and youth in our academy program.
So what are some of the activities that we have planned for the new Shipyards location?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the primary one is the DesignMakePlay Fab Academy, as you mentioned. And so that one, it's a program where it's basically 2 hours a week, and for children in grades 4 to 7, as well as secondary school students in grades 8 to 12. And we have sort of different curriculum and content for the different age groups, of course. And we have an amazing team of engineers. So these are not just sort of senior high school students. These are like people with their engineering degrees, their master's degrees,
Experience
top
in
of
the
their
field.
kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we've got materials engineer, mechatronics engineer, mechanical engineer, electrical engineers, a bunch of electrical engineers, a bunch of really good designers, people like you with like writing, communication. So it's an awesome way for kids to learn in a very hands-on way. So this is not like school. I mean, school's awesome too, not to put school down, but it's a good addition to enrichment to what they're learning in the schools. In fact, we've organized a lot of our content around the BC curriculum and some other provincial curricula. Yeah, so really excited to get going. We have a core group, and we have a limited number of people that space actually, and so we expect it to kind of fill out very shortly. So if it is something that people are interested in, they should probably get involved fairly soon, because yeah, especially with the COVID-19 restrictions, we're doing very small groups at a time. So it's looking like maximum 4 people, and physically distanced, and going through all the safety protocols. And later on, we'll be able to have more like up to 30, about 30 people. But generally, we'll have smaller size programs, like 4 to 8 kids.
Will we still be administering online options?
We will. So
Makes sense.
Yeah, all the online courses, we had a lot of good feedback on those. So things like origami, things like Fusion 360, 3D design, 3D printing. And so we've kind of rolled that into our academy program. So you can do the academy program face-to-face, or you can do it online. or both. So you could have it where some weeks you're doing some of the online sessions, other weeks you're coming in and doing the face-to-face stuff. So.
All right, so we talked about Fab Academy. We've talked about the new Shipyards location. We probably will end up coming back to them. There's a lot to talk about, but it's hard within this short period of time. Now, what about the Carson Graham Robotics Initiative? I believe it just got approved, did it not?
Yes, so preliminary approval, so based on getting registrants and everything. But yeah, just got the email this morning from Michael Key, really grateful for the work that we've done together. It's been a really good relationship with Rob Olson and the Carson Graham Robotics team. They're just starting, I think, this Saturday with the kickoff for First Robotics. It's kind of an annual contest they do, and they kind of have the unveiling of the new requirements of what the competition will be like this time. It's really interesting. It's kind of combining competition with also cooperation. They have like alliances with other schools, and as they do this competition. So yeah, we're super excited to be the service provider of this program, and we've spent part of the fall kind of letting industry know about it and letting people know about the possibility, and Capilano University Engineering School is going to be involved, a whole bunch of really awesome partners. So yeah, I think it's about a month or so where they're taking registrations. I think it's maximum 30 kids. So it doesn't have to be from Carson Graham, it can be from other schools, I believe. And part of the program would be delivered at Carson Graham, part would be delivered at Shipyards, and we'd have a lot of our engineers involved. So as you know, Greg, who from DesignMaker Lab here, he has a daughter, or actually 2 daughters now, that are part of the robotics club there, so we've sort of seen it firsthand. And they're an amazing group of kids, and Rob Olson, super inspiring teacher. It's kind of teacher that just makes, restores faith in the school system and education and everything, of just the creativity and the care he has for his students. This is kind of a labor of love, so this is something that he just spends a ton of time on after hours doing. So yeah, we're really excited to be involved with the North Van School District doing this.
No, I'm excited as well, because one thing we're always trying to encourage here, there's not many women in STEM as well. There are more nowadays, but we're always trying to encourage our female students to don't be, deterred by the fact that maybe the field you're interested in is male dominated. And when you see our brand evangelist, Greg Bodden, and his 2 daughters who are interested in robotics, they're pursuing an engineering degree, you could tell that his heart's really in it. So when we talk about these initiatives, it's not that we're just doing it to seem socially responsible. We actually have a stake in it as well.
Yes, and not only are they involved, but they're amongst the leaders of what's happening there, and super talented girls and women. And also a lot of our engineers are also female engineers, male engineers. We have a really good mixture, and so there's role models for everyone. And really, there's no barrier in terms of with us. We hope if there ever are any kind of things, to let us know. But we really try to make sure that whether you're a boy, girl, man, woman, it doesn't really matter. It's just the passion, the curiosity, desire to learn some of this area, this content, this area. So yeah, really excited. It's been a long time kind of coming, and Rob had the club going last year. Yeah, it's so cool to see. The vision, I think, of everyone, ourselves as well as the school district and Rob, is to really turn North Vancouver into a world-class hub of STEM and STEAM robotics opportunities. There's amazing companies on the North Shore.
A lot of small businesses. EcoAtion,
doing really cool automated robotic systems for greenhouses. We have Newco, so Phil. Newco, who's Phil's one of the pioneers of technology actually in North Vancouver, but even in BC with all his underwater diving suits and things. And there's the shipyards industry still, people like C-SPAN doing some cool things. So lots of high tech right here in North Vancouver, and I think these students will have an awesome opportunity to get summer jobs and practicums and co-ops and things like that down the road. So
yeah, they can actually present a lot of these projects to employers and be like, this is what I created, this is how I designed it. I was under the instructions of trained engineers, I was able to create this, and I can do that for you as well. Yes. So oftentimes project-based learning, theory has its place. You need theory and you need the action behind that. But something about project-based learning, I feel like the education sector is trying to move towards that direction.
Yeah, the BC curriculum's very much changed from just very granular sort of facts and knowledge-based ones, a little bit more project-based and active. I think it's a good change. It gives teachers more flexibility to do exciting projects for the kids, and it's definitely our approach here. So the best learning is when you don't even think you're learning. So you're just we call it stealth learning, because you're just kind of so enjoying whatever it is that you're making or doing, or let's say you're learning math because you need to learn that math in order to do this thing that your robot's about to do or something else is about to do. Then it becomes relevant, then rather than just, I'm learning this math in case someday I may need to use it somewhere. It's a little bit harder to get motivated when you don't have that sort of hands-on direct need for it.
Yeah, it's all part of our design, make, play philosophy too. We try and work play into everything we do, because it's like let's say exercising, training, or in this case robotics building. When you incorporate play into them, you see it less as work, and it's easier to get into that flow state. Now, beyond all that, so moving forward into this new year, what are you particularly most excited for? We have about 3 minutes left before the end of the show. So,
well, the really cool thing is that a lot of the things we've been working on the last 6 months or so, sort of in planning stage or possibility stage, have turned into sort of the reality stage. So with the Carson Graham robotics team, check out the North Vancouver School District website for more information on that. You can check DesignMakePlay as well.com, and we'll have
some information.
To that.
Yeah.
So that's super exciting. The other one, of course, is the second location at the shipyards. Is just really excited for this new Fab Academy. One of the unique things with this Fab Academy is the kids also get a monthly service where they can use part of the laser cutting time and part of the 3D printer time and part of the large format vinyl printing time to create their own projects. So it's not just sort of build our own kits or come here and we give you cookie cutter things. It's like they can dream up their own ideas. And the talent that we've seen is inspiring, of kids of all ages, just what they come up with. There's a lot of the designs where it's like, hey, is this something that we could use ongoing here? Like it's really good stuff. So I guess two of those are the two things that, well, the third thing, and maybe even in some ways the most important thing, is having our new leader on board, David Parish, and he's got some really good ideas and past experience, and his kids have been in our program, so he understands us. And the team that has just kind of grown over the last time. It's been challenging with COVID. We lost a lot of our kind of face-to-face programs, like a lot of other businesses and organizations. But I've been super kind of inspired to see the team here do the pivots, do the creative, and we had to sort of practice what we preached and use our own design thinking skills and get into new areas like manufacturing face shields and getting a medical device establishment license and creating project kits. Creating some new software, new website, all kinds of stuff. So the team, I guess, is what inspires me moving forward, and then in turn, what the kids can do in our programs, they inspire the team. So it's kind of this really cool kind of feedback loop going on.
It's a double-edged sword. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to interview David within the next week. Talk about him. I was gonna mention that he decided to come on board because two of his children were actually some of our drop-in class all-stars, I would like to call them.
Yes, they're very good. Hopefully we can get them on the show too. In fact, especially one of the sons is kind of super kind of outgoing and really, I mean, they're both awesome kids, and it'd be great to, that's something that we do want to do in the show a little bit more, is have more of the participants in our program.
Maybe they could present their actual products.
Possibly, yeah, not to put them on the spot or anything, but yeah, we've had some really good kids come on the show and show what they're making, and it's a lot of fun.
All right. So Siri, thank you. Always a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you for the interview.
And thank you all for tuning in. We have a lot of cool things coming up. You're gonna check out us on social media, tune into the live show, check out our YouTube channel, like and subscribe. We have content coming out almost every single day related to the show, related to all the initiatives going on. So yeah, stay tuned and thank you. See you tomorrow.